Think about the companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They faced immense hardships, trials that would make our own troubles seem small in comparison. Yet their approach was always one of action, of seeking solutions, of deep reliance on Allah Almighty. Yes, they shared their concerns with the Prophet, be upon him, and with each other, but it was always with an undertone of seeking guidance, of strengthening their resolve, of moving forward in their faith. Their conversations were not mere complaint sessions. They were counsels of resilience, faith, and problem solving. This is the spirit we should aim to cultivate. When you feel the need to speak about a challenge, ask yourself first, what is my intention here? Am I looking for a way to grow through this, to find a solution that is pleasing to Allah Almighty? Or am I just looking for a temporary escape from my feelings? If your intention is genuinely to find a solution, then the conversation shifts. You will seek out people known for their wisdom, their piety, their ability to offer sound advice based on Islamic teachings. You will listen more than you speak. You will be open to uncomfortable truths that might lead to real change. You will couple your consultation with earnest prayer, asking Allah Almighty to guide your thoughts, your words, and the advice you receive. This kind of sharing is productive. It's a form of striving, and Allah Almighty loves those who strive in His way. But if the intention is merely to vent, to gain pity, or to endlessly repeat the same story of woe, then it's time for a gentle self-correction. It's time to ask Allah Almighty to help us shift our focus from rehearsing the pain to rewriting the narrative, from being stuck in the problem to actively seeking His pathways to peace and resolution. This requires honesty with ourselves, a willingness to look deeper than the surface level desire for immediate comfort. It requires a commitment to using our blessed gift of speech, not as a drain for negativity, but as a tool for constructing a more hopeful and resilient self, firmly anchored in our faith in the all-knowing, all-wise. The Quranic guidance often points towards action coupled with faith. We are told, indeed Allah Almighty will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. This verse, while broad in its implications, also touches upon our approach to problems. Changing what is in themselves can mean changing our mindset from one of passive complaint to one of active seeking of solutions, of personal responsibility, and of sincere turning to Allah Almighty for the means to effect positive change. It's about transforming our inner dialogue from one of victimhood to one of empowered stewardship over our own responses. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wisely advised, with the translated meaning being, seek help for the fulfillment of your needs by being discreet, for everyone who is blessed is envied. While this hadith has multiple layers of meaning, one aspect it touches upon is the wisdom of not overly broadcasting our plans or our vulnerabilities unnecessarily. It encourages a measured approach, focusing our energy on productive steps and sincere prayer to Allah Almighty, rather than on widespread discussion that might not always lead to the desired outcome and could sometimes attract unhelpful attention or negativity. It underscores the strength in moving with intention and trust in Allah Almighty, seeking solutions with wisdom and discretion. My dearest brothers and sisters, in our journey through life, we will inevitably encounter moments that test our patience, our resolve, and our faith. We have spoken about the importance of turning to Allah Almighty first, and about being mindful of our intentions when we do speak of our troubles. Now, let us delve into the beautiful, serene power that is found in what I like to call the quiet strength of true reliance. This is the strength that doesn't need an audience. It's the resilience that is nurtured in the silent chambers of the heart, in those profound personal moments of communion with our Creator. It is the calm assurance that settles upon a soul that has placed its complete trust in Allah Almighty. And then, with that trust as its foundation, begins to quietly and diligently work towards solutions. Often the world around us seems to value loudness. The loudest complaint, the most dramatic story of woe, sometimes gets the most immediate attention. But is that true strength? Is that the path to lasting peace and genuine growth? Our beautiful faith teaches us a different way. It teaches us the dignity of patience, the power of silent prayer, the effectiveness of sincere action undertaken without fanfare. Think of the deep roots of a mighty tree. They are not visible, they make no sound, yet they are the source of its stability, its ability to withstand storms, its capacity to reach towards the sky. True reliance on Allah Almighty is like those unseen roots. It anchors us, it nourishes us from within, and it gives us a strength that is profound and unwavering, a strength that doesn't need to announce itself. When you face a difficulty, and instead of immediately rushing to tell everyone who will listen, you first turn to Allah Almighty in the stillness of your room, with tears in your eyes perhaps, but with a heart full of hope in His mercy. That is an act of incredible power. In that quiet, intimate conversation with your Lord, you are acknowledging Him as the ultimate source of help. You are laying your vulnerability before the one who is never burdened by it, the one who understands it completely, and the one who has the perfect solution. This act of turning inward and upward builds a unique kind of spiritual muscle. It cultivates a sense of self-sufficiency that is not arrogant, but is rooted in the understanding that your sufficiency comes from Allah Almighty. You begin to realize that you don't need the validation of others to feel that your struggle is real, nor do you need their constant input to find your way. You have a direct line to the King of all kings. This quiet reliance then translates into a different kind of action. It's an action that is less about frantic seeking of external approval and more about focused, prayerful effort. You make your supplications, you ask Allah Almighty for guidance, for clarity, for strength, and then, inspired by that connection, you take the necessary steps. You research, you learn, you consult with trusted and knowledgeable individuals if needed, but you do so with a sense of calm, knowing that the outcome is ultimately in Allah Almighty's hands. This approach conserves your emotional energy. Instead of depleting it in repeated tellings of your troubles, you channel it into constructive pathways. There is a deep wisdom in this. When you are constantly talking about how bad things are, you are living in the problem. But when you are quietly working, praying and trusting, you are living in the solution. Consider the example of Maryam, the mother of Prophet Isa, be upon them both. When she faced an unimaginable trial, accused and alone, Allah Almighty instructed her to remain silent in certain contexts. Her defense came from Allah Almighty Himself through the miraculous speech of her infant son. There are times when silence, coupled with profound trust in Allah Almighty, is the most eloquent response, the most powerful stance. It doesn't mean we never speak or seek help, but it means we understand the spiritual power of sometimes holding our peace, of allowing Allah Almighty to be our primary defender, our primary guide, our primary source of strength. This builds an inner sanctuary, a place of refuge within your own heart, where you can retreat, connect with your Lord, and emerge with renewed clarity and resolve. People around you might not even know the depth of the struggles you are navigating, but they will notice a certain calm about you, a resilience, a quiet confidence that can only come from a soul deeply connected to the divine. This is far more impactful than a constant stream of complaints. Furthermore, when you cultivate this quiet strength, you become less dependent on the reactions of others. If you share a concern with someone and they don't respond in the way you hoped, it doesn't shatter you, because your ultimate reliance is not on them but on Allah Almighty. You are not seeking their pity or their applause. You are seeking Allah Almighty's pleasure and His help. This detachment from the need for external validation is incredibly freeing. It allows you to navigate your challenges with a greater sense of inner peace and purpose. It allows you to be a source of strength for others too, rather than someone who is constantly perceived as needing to be rescued. This inner work, this building of a quiet, steadfast reliance on Allah Almighty is one of the most beautiful forms of worship. It is a testament to your faith, a demonstration of your understanding that true power and true peace come only from Him. It transforms your trials from sources of anxiety into opportunities for profound spiritual growth and a deeper connection with your Creator. The Quran says, and whoever relies upon Allah Almighty, then He is sufficient for him. This is a profound promise of sufficiency. When we place our complete trust and reliance in Him, He takes care of our affairs in ways we cannot even imagine. This sufficiency isn't just about material needs. It's about emotional strength, spiritual guidance, and inner peace. It's the core of that quiet strength that needs no other validation. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that the translated meaning is, richness is not in the abundance of worldly goods, but richness is the richness of the soul. This richness of the soul is cultivated through such practices as quiet reliance on Allah Almighty, patience in adversity, and gratitude in times of ease. It is an inner wealth that provides a steadfastness and contentment far more valuable and enduring than any fleeting comfort derived from external sources alone. It is the strength that comes from knowing your connection with Allah Almighty is your greatest treasure. My dearest brothers and sisters, it is a natural part of our human experience to seek comfort and understanding from those around us, especially when we are navigating the turbulent waters of life's challenges. We yearn for connection, for empathy, for someone to acknowledge our pain and perhaps offer a comforting word or a helping hand. This desire in itself is not wrong. Allah Almighty has instilled compassion in human hearts for this very reason, so that we may be sources of solace for one another. However, where we sometimes falter, where disappointment often finds a way to creep into our hearts, is when we place an overwhelming weight of expectation on other people. We might unconsciously expect them to fully understand the depths of our sorrow, to carry our emotional load as if it were their own, or even to provide the perfect solutions to our complex problems. And when they inevitably fall short, because they are human, with their own limitations and their own burdens, we can feel let down, misunderstood, or even abandoned. Let us reflect on this with gentle honesty. Every single person in this world is carrying their own set of worries, their own responsibilities, their own silent battles. Some may be visible, others hidden deep within the heart. When we approach someone laden with our own concerns, wanting them to dedicate their full attention and emotional energy to our situation, we must remember that they are often emerging from or currently immersed in their own struggles. It's not that they don't care or that they are intentionally dismissive. It's simply that the capacity of a human being to absorb and resolve another's pain is inherently limited. They can offer sympathy. They can lend an ear for a while. They might share some advice based on their own experiences. But they cannot live in your mind. They cannot feel your emotions with the same intensity, and they certainly do not possess the ultimate power to change your circumstances or heal your heart in the way that only Allah Almighty can. This realization is not meant to make us feel isolated or to diminish the value of genuine friendship and support. Rather, it is meant to recalibrate our expectations and direct them towards the only source that is truly limitless and unfailing, Allah Almighty. He alone knows every intricate detail of your life, every unspoken fear, every hidden hope. His understanding of your situation is complete and perfect. His capacity to care, to listen, to provide is infinite. He is never too busy, never overwhelmed, never burdened by the pleas of His servants. In fact, He loves for us to turn to Him, to pour out our hearts to Him, to ask of Him. So when we find ourselves feeling that intense need for support, for someone to truly understand and help, let our primary expectation rest with Him. We make our prayer, we lay our case before Him, and we trust that He will guide us, comfort us, and make a way for us. When we shift our ultimate reliance from people to Allah Almighty, something beautiful happens. Firstly, we liberate ourselves from the cycle of disappointment. We no longer feel that pang of hurt when someone doesn't respond exactly as we hoped, because our core support system is divine, not human. Secondly, we actually free others from an unspoken pressure they were perhaps never meant to bear. Our relationships can become healthier based on mutual respect and realistic expectations, rather than on a one-sided need for emotional rescue. You can still share, you can still seek counsel, but you do so with the understanding that the human being before you is a means, a channel perhaps, but the ultimate source of help and healing is Allah Almighty. This perspective allows for gratitude for any human kindness received, without a crushing disappointment if it doesn't meet an idealized expectation. Think about it. How many times have you felt that someone just didn't get it, no matter how much you explain? That feeling arises because only Allah Almighty truly gets it in its entirety. He created your heart. He knows its every beat, its every tremor. This isn't a call to stoic isolation, but a call to find the right address for our deepest needs. When you tell Allah Almighty your problems, you are speaking to the one who not only understands but also has the power to transform your situation. He can soften hearts, open closed doors, inspire solutions, and grant you a peace that surpasses all human understanding. This understanding doesn't devalue human connection, it places it in its proper context. Human beings can be a comfort, a means of support, a reminder of Allah Almighty's mercy, but they are not the origin of that mercy. So the next time you feel overwhelmed and the urge to find someone to understand you perfectly arises, pause. First take that need, that vulnerability, that entire bundle of emotions and present it to Allah Almighty in your prayer. Ask Him for His support, His guidance, His comfort. Then if you still feel the need to speak with someone, do so with a heart that is already leaning on Allah Almighty, with expectations that are fair and kind, both to yourself and to the other. You will find that your conversations become more balanced, less desperate, and often more fruitful, because you are not approaching them from a place of complete emptiness, seeking to be filled by another fallible human being. You are approaching them from a place of connection with the divine, seeking perhaps a little human warmth on a path where your ultimate guide is Allah Almighty. This shift in perspective is key to emotional and spiritual well-being. It protects our hearts from unnecessary pain and deepens our most important relationship, our relationship with our Creator. The Qur'an beautifully reminds us, is not Allah Almighty sufficient for His servant? This rhetorical question is a powerful affirmation. It speaks directly to the heart that seeks solace and support, reminding us that in Allah Almighty we find complete and utter sufficiency. All our needs, emotional, spiritual, physical, are ultimately met by Him and through Him. Relying on this truth can free us from unrealistic expectations of others. And a profound hadith of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, states, the translated meaning is, whosoever desires that Allah Almighty answer his supplications during hardship and grief, he should supplicate plentifully in times of ease. This highlights the ongoing relationship we should cultivate with Allah Almighty. True support is built on a consistent connection, not just turning to Him in times of desperate need. By maintaining this bond, our reliance becomes a deep-seated reality, and our expectations from created beings are naturally moderated by our profound trust in the Creator. My dearest brothers and sisters, we have spoken about the nature of our burdens, the importance of our intentions, and where true support lies. Now, let us consider a vital transformation that can occur within us. The shift from repeatedly rehearsing our pain to actively reclaiming our peace. It is one thing to acknowledge a difficulty, to process it with wisdom and turn to Allah Almighty. It is quite another to become so accustomed to the narrative of our suffering that we replay it endlessly like a sorrowful song stuck on repeat, preventing us from hearing the gentler melodies of hope and healing that Allah Almighty also sends our way. This constant rehearsal of what's wrong, without a dedicated effort to move towards what could be right, can become a significant barrier to our own well-being and spiritual growth. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a stage. If you continually set the scene with dramas of past hurts, current frustrations and future anxieties, then these are the performances that will dominate your consciousness. The spotlight remains fixed on the problem, giving it an amplified presence in your life. Every time you recount the tale of your troubles without also seeking a way forward, without also affirming your trust in Allah Almighty's plan, you are in a sense giving that problem more power, more space in your heart and mind. You are rehearsing your pain, and like any actor who rehearses their lines, you become very good at feeling that pain, at identifying with it, sometimes to the point where it starts to define you. But Allah Almighty did not create us to be defined by our problems. He created us to grow through them, to seek His mercy and to strive for betterment. Reclaiming peace, on the other hand, involves a conscious decision to change the script, to shift the spotlight. It means acknowledging the difficulty, yes, but then immediately asking, what is the next right step I can take? With Allah Almighty's help, how can I move towards a solution, even a small one? What positive action can I engage in that will bring a little more tranquility to my heart and my situation? This is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about channeling those emotions, that energy, into constructive avenues. Our faith is not a passive one. It is a faith of action, of striving, of seeking good and forbidding evil, starting with the evil of despair or stagnation within our own souls. Allah Almighty loves to see His servant making an effort, taking initiative, seeking permissible means to improve their condition, all while keeping their heart attached to Him. Consider the energy you expend when you are caught in a loop of complaint or worry. It's exhausting, isn't it? It drains your mental clarity, your emotional resilience, and even your physical vitality. Now, what if that same amount of energy was redirected? What if, instead of spending an hour talking about how overwhelmed you are, you spent that hour making a heartfelt prayer? reading a portion of the Qur'an with reflection, engaging in some form of remembrance of Allah Almighty that calms the heart, or taking one small practical step towards addressing the issue at hand. This is where the reclaiming of peace begins. It's in these small, consistent shifts of focus and action. Peace is not something that just happens to us. It is something we actively cultivate with Allah Almighty's blessing through our choices and our efforts. Breaking the habit of rehearsing pain requires self-awareness and a sincere desire for change. When you catch yourself starting to go down that familiar path of negative recounting, gently pause. Ask yourself, is this conversation, this line of thought helping me move forward? Is it bringing me closer to a solution or closer to Allah Almighty? Or is it just stirring up old feelings of distrust without any productive outcome? If it's the latter, then make a conscious choice to pivot. Turn your thoughts towards gratitude for the blessings you do have. Make a specific prayer for guidance and strength regarding the challenge. Think about one small thing you can do right now to improve your state. Even if it's just getting up to make ablution and praying 2 units of prayer with focused intention, these are acts of reclaiming your agency, of refusing to let the problem dictate your entire emotional and spiritual landscape. This process is like tending a garden. If you only focus on the weeds, the problems, the pain, they will seem to take over. But if you actively pull out the weeds and plant flowers, part a glassity to pull out the weeds and plant flowers, constructive Allah Almighty, then the garden of your heart will begin to bloom. The weeds might still appear from time to time, such is the nature of this worldly life, but you will become more skilled at dealing with them swiftly and preventing them from choking the life out of your beautiful plants. This active cultivation is a sign of a living faith, a faith that seeks not just to endure, but to thrive by Allah Almighty's grace. It's about making a commitment to yourself and to your relationship with Allah Almighty that you will not allow negativity to become your default setting. You will strive for peace, for progress, for a heart that even in trial remembers its Lord and seeks His pleasure. This is the path from being a victim of your circumstances to becoming a proactive servant of Allah Almighty, navigating life with hope and resilience. The Qur'an encourages a proactive stance, stating, so when you have finished your duties, then stand up for worship, Allah Almighty, and to your Lord direct. When one phase of struggle or preoccupation is over, or even during it, we are to continuously reorient ourselves towards Allah Almighty, directing our hopes, our efforts and our focus towards Him, rather than remaining stuck in the remnants of past difficulties. It's a call to perpetual positive motion towards our Creator. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, provided us with a powerful principle when he said that, the translated meaning is, verily actions are but by intentions, and every person will have only what they intended. If our intention is to merely rehearse pain, that is what we will predominantly experience. But if our intention is to seek solutions, to grow, to draw closer to Allah Almighty through our challenges, then our actions, our speech and our inner focus will align with that intention, and Allah Almighty will open paths for us accordingly, paving the way for peace and resolution. My dearest brothers and sisters, as we draw this reflection to a close, let us focus on a most empowering truth. You, with the help and guidance of Allah Almighty, are the primary author of the story of your life. The events, the challenges, the joys, these are all part of the divine decree, the unfolding chapters. But how you interpret these chapters, how you respond to them, the narrative you weave around them in your heart, in your mind and through your actions, this is where your agency, your stewardship truly lies. It is here that you can consciously choose to craft a narrative not of perpetual victimhood or despair, but one of incredible hope, resilience, learning, and unwavering reliance on the most merciful. This is not about fabricating a false reality. It's about choosing the most empowering and spiritually uplifting lens through which to view and engage with the reality Allah Almighty has destined for you. Think about the stories that inspire you, the stories of the prophets, of righteous individuals throughout history. Their lives were often filled with immense trials, far greater than our own. Yet their narratives are not primarily remembered for the pain they endured, but for the faith they exemplified, the patience they showed, the hope they maintained, and the profound trust they placed in Allah Almighty. They didn't just passively experience their difficulties, they actively engaged with them, drawing strength from their connection with their Lord, learning the lessons, and always striving to do what was pleasing to Him. They crafted narratives of ultimate triumph through faith, narratives that continue to inspire us centuries later. You too have the capacity to craft such a narrative for your own life, a narrative that will not only uplift you, but may also, by Allah Almighty's grace, become a source of quiet inspiration for those around you. Crafting begins with how you speak to yourself. When a challenge arises, instead of the immediate thought being, oh no, why me again, this is too hard, try to consciously shift it to, this is a test from Allah Almighty, and He knows I have the capacity to face it with His help. What can I learn from this? How can this bring me closer to Him? What is the good He intends for me through this? This internal reframing is incredibly powerful. It changes your posture from one of defensiveness or defeat to one of openness, learning, and proactive engagement. You are no longer just a recipient of difficulty. You become a seeker of wisdom and growth within that difficulty. You start to look for Allah Almighty's hand in everything, for His subtle messages, for the opportunities He is placing before you, even if they are disguised as challenges. Then this inner narrative naturally flows into your actions. If your story is one of hope and reliance, your actions will reflect that. You will make sincere prayer, you will seek knowledge, you will take permissible steps towards solutions, you will be patient, you will persevere, you will not give up easily, because your narrative is not one of quick surrender, but of steadfast striving, trusting in Allah Almighty's timing and His ultimate wisdom. Your focus shifts from the problem itself to your response to the problem. And your response is always anchored in your faith. This doesn't mean you won't feel sadness or fear or frustration. These are human emotions, but they will not be the defining theme of your story. The defining theme will be your unwavering commitment to navigating these emotions and the situations that cause them with grace, dignity, and an unshakable trust in Allah Almighty. When you live this way, when you consciously craft a narrative of hope and action, has a profound effect not only on your own well-being, but also on how others perceive you and interact with you. People are naturally drawn to those who exude a quiet strength, a hopeful spirit, a sense of purpose, even in the midst of adversity. They see someone who is not constantly complaining or defined by their problems, but someone who is actively engaged in building a better reality for themselves with Allah Almighty's help. This earns a different kind of respect, a different kind of support. It's not pity they will offer, but admiration and genuine encouragement. You become a beacon, perhaps without even realizing it, demonstrating that faith is not just a set of beliefs, but a lived experience, a powerful force for positive transformation. Moreover, this approach opens you up to receiving Allah Almighty's help in ways you might not expect. When you are actively striving, trusting, and maintaining a positive outlook, you are aligning yourself with the spiritual laws of success that Allah Almighty has established. He sees your effort, He knows your sincerity, and He is Al-Fatah, the opener, who can open doors you never imagined could be opened. He is Al-Wali, the protecting friend who will guide your steps and protect you. Your hopeful narrative becomes a form of prayer, an affirmation of your trust in His boundless generosity and mercy. So take up your pen, my dear brother, my dear sister. Take up the pen of sincere intention, of hopeful prayer, of patient striving, of grateful remembrance, and begin to consciously write the next chapter of your life as a story of faith in action, a story where every challenge is an opportunity to draw closer to Allah Almighty, and every outcome, whether it appears as ease or further testing, is met with a heart that says, I hear and I obey, and my trust is in you, O Lord of the worlds. This is how you transform your journey from a mere existence into a purposeful, inspiring narrative that pleases your Creator and brings peace to your soul. The Qur'an reminds us, and say, work, for Allah Almighty will see your work and His messenger and the believers. This verse is a powerful call to action, an encouragement to strive and to do good, with the assurance that our efforts are seen by Allah Almighty and have value. It inspires us to build a narrative of positive contribution and diligent effort, trusting in His oversight and reward. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave us a beautiful perspective on the life of a believer, the translated meaning of which is, How wonderful is the affair of the believer, for his affairs are all good. And this applies to no one but the believer. If something good happens to him, he is thankful for it, and that is good for him. If something bad happens to him, he bears it with patience, and that is good for him. This teaching encourages us to frame our entire life narrative through the lenses of gratitude and patience, finding the good in every situation, and thereby crafting a story of continuous spiritual growth and benefit, secure